伽马巴的特质以及其不断转世的目的，就是为了要让众生看到自信中清净、良善、无染的本质，将每一个人心中的光明牵引出来，并且扩展到全世界。这样的特质，在我们现今所见17世伽马巴的身语意中便可得到证明。法王伽马巴的言谈里，无时无刻地展现出对世界纷扰的悲悯，以及对和平到来的尽心竭力。在历代伽马巴的修持中，止观禅修一直都是重要的一部分，也特别强调借由观照的功夫彰显日常生活中的本质实相。伽马巴的传承教义极为重视与法义相契合的圣观。为了达到这样的修持，首先必须先由培养出离心等基本功课入门，再借由一步步增进的禅修，将心性中真实的智慧开展出来，并以这样的力量将众生带入和谐与相互尊重的光明中。
아니 차당이 차와배나 차과로이나 수 뒤버치게 지라니야 괴베 딱아 괴베 괴차카리네 수 뒤버 동게 차와차 랑 무고 파 동게 정게디 나와쳐 근데 나한테 고아 수 동게 무고 파전갱이 삼바디 지 답변아 지 챈르 따니 지 지나리아 주볼 조드로 지나 니주카리스 쳔마도 최야체 미지 가져다지 지den가 나로 내가 쳔네 미지야게 드제고니 지나 차다니부대야 메카메르 치러 인두산에다 다 메가메 인두산에다 근데 쳔네 아주 디 야게 근데스다 차다 상부차 세워다야 차당 프라야게 다스요 차당 상부차도 근데스 야게 방고도 괜기 차도 근데 시와치하고 아주 딱.
So the activities of attachment or desires, craving, grasping for things, all towards oneself, what to get, what is needed, and more of what one wants to have. And the activity of aversion is what to get rid of, what to reject. And so these being the activities of attachment and aversion, unless one is someone who is going to spend one's life in the seclusion of mountain caves, if we are going to live our lives in the regular world, the world we live in, then in a way we can't do without attachment and aversion. And again, it should not be misunderstood. We're not talking it in terms of promoting attachment and aversion, and particularly the harmful and the detrimental side of attachment and aversion. But to be able to look at it, that actually the attachment has these two aspects, that there is some distilling, there is some refining that can take place, where the negative side could be given up and abandoned, and the wholesome side can be further nurtured and refined. and in that way, that where we are living in our own lives, that the change and the transformation could be made to happen.
당연히 연대나 그 시와시주 연대 공부 더 마시병이야. 얘는 차단 이유들이야. 민스타스. 세단 도와. 지다 세단 야지. 대자 도지다 대자 야지 니도.
So before we talk about the good side of anger or aversion into attachment, and the negative side of attachment and aversion, we need to, in a way, encapsulate them or label them. And so we can say that good aversion and bad aversion, good attachment and bad attachment. There are two kinds of both.
But I'm do it I'm do it and I do to that shit down the control the shaman would see bear casualty. 他了如这下的其他这个他了如呢，本来他看一下呢，几点的哪里呀？但是这场面移动啊，这要嘛啦，场面移动用啊，这要嘛是。这第三呢，这这边就这个，他这都移动啊，因为这俺这个说。 先把钱插过去，先把插过去，基本那样就要是，那这里就是啥呢？这里俺最近腾进了马龙也过来，看到就我与你去我的七十万了不记得呀？他看到就，过来就别那对下了就给一名的第一我不的，就我与个。 还修了，但后头一堂胳膊肉这一位呢，这七星的抓马大外国呢，最近还说这抓马大棒，可是我呢人不给，你去通多了就讲呢，最近这里就吃过了，吃别说了就改为米呢，这个多啊，这点儿没一把，我有看几月这里啊。 一堂过吧，那吧，几月不几年？听到了，他好多样人，你个长大，就满载，他说就，我比你去了，太多满载吧，满载吧，没吧，那样就满载呗，长大。我比你去了，去太上载不没吧，那样，就载不也呗，长大呢。那看到就，我那阵那个，鱼了没到，鱼做什么？ 没见，让个老早起来家的，什么的，几个嘛是，看到这鱼的，就我们内区当鱼跟长大的早起来吃，天来就早起来什么大呢？提前说让个生的，绕头吃过要的嘛到，让个生的早起呢，鱼的内区的时候呢，让个生的就讲说，估计吃下来呢。 等于让个生的不是他几点起不说吃，对吧？俺个老就估计吃的，但俺说就看些个，他说几点吃不，他说就这个要嘛的呢，说几点吃不吃的呀？这个别这英国人，别像是在下个月啥就上了大洋就是啥呢？就几点吃不上了大洋要了。 这没么钱呢，我们长大的吃住吃的人吧，天上里啊就可说，早吃完钱呢，让给就就把早吃完的钱，你家的，开始吃了，看的就与让给可说就，来盘家了的，早吃完钱为米呢，他那种人那个话嘞，的， 작다네 아주 타는 작다네 디 괜찮네 말이지 자 유조 차와제네 유기 수제야야 조차와제 데 상마다네 지제 수웨미나 그다 윤대로지 같이 창도
So, for instance, talking about the negative side of, let's say, desire, attachment, and the negative side is at any given time there is a possibility that one could get caught up in falling into some extreme situation and extreme sort of fanatical situation, falling into. Which is to say, there is no relative object, outer phenomena, that is perfectly, completely good and attractive. And by the same token, there is no phenomena or no object that is just absolutely bad. Given that being, at least even in the relative context, to have the illusion, to fall the victim of, become a victim of the illusion that something is absolutely terrible and fall into it, or something is absolutely fabulous and fall for it, is so a great mistake, a very mistaken approach. So which is to say again that when one perceives whatever phenomena arises, it is well advised that one is able to approach it from the point of view of simply whatever phenomena arises, from the objective angle point of view. But the normal tendency is never that way. The tendency is always ready to indulge in fabrication, something that is not totally at all true about the relative manifestation of whatever phenomenon. Indulging with whatever fabrication one feels that it's akin to one's preferred outlook. And if something in its relative manifestation is not some good or beautiful, fabricating it with the illusion that it is something rather fabulously beautiful, and something in its relative appearance is not particularly that bad, but having the illusion and therefore fabricating it as something terribly bad. So it is important that we are able to go along with primarily how things, though relatively, manifest on their own, and not making the fabrication that we want to indulge as the primary, as the more important thing. And so usually, of course, there is the tendency that whatever object becomes manifest, we don't relate to them as how they manifest. We are ready to manipulate. We are ready to fabricate. And while theoretically or intellectually, we claim that we hold the view that we don't believe in creations or creator. But while theoretically holding that belief, preferring that belief, but actually we make ourselves the creator. We want whatever manifests not as they are, but how we want them to be, how we prefer them to be. And so in this way, once again, it's important to recognize that whatever manifest is more important than whatever illusion, fabrication make it to be. If one does that, then one is going to fall into whatever extremes, and that extreme is not in one's favor.
지지랑 아주 참배가 흘러가야 위산 뒤 시에서는
We should probably make a song based on the rhythm of the coughing. Coughing is the rhythm. Sounds pretty good, actually.
Tene, ta dindeche, ta kanda ji sibada shive che talamya ji linye ni ji libu linye chani yoro chile ji nyebe chane linye chani ta che kanle ne ji linye chani sama ji libe chane chibina liba ji tokyo nyebe chane chibina nyeba ji tokyo 다데 시베 추 탐지하니라 이제 영리가 따뜻고 영모 지고만 개와래 되래 미개와래 되래 시발래 되래 시와래 되래 네 뉴스안에 링이게 차 되래 때네 링이 차이가 토야야 되지 저요 알았어 근데 뉴스안 차 찍네 냠바요한테 차시진 상보요한테야 차시지는 상보용한테 차시지는 예바용한테 근데 지 용료하면서 데이비 윤생기 안에 아주 지 내담 잠데지 미소술이야 내담 잠데 온데 알았어 다 기시 코란 피네 지 가르레 링예로 가면 지 링예로 찍기 몰래 아파 춥도 예버지 예비는 다 받지 아주 근데 지 내담 잠데 왕보용 시만 아주 지 수수 춥다 다들 인자는 간다 링에 참만 붙지는 아주 다의 인자 에 소수의 링에 차대 통마통 아니 링에 차한 제 맞게 균생이 미소수소소리야 되는지 구유다 되네 구유다 지 주다 민자와 나서요 용디
So in the whole of samsara and nirvana, so that there are all of manifestations, all manifestations, samsaric and otherwise, there's two sides to both. And then the wholesome side and the deficient side, and the good side and the negative side. And when we engage, so we're not just talking simply in terms of mental afflictions. We're talking in terms of virtuous actions and outlook, non-virtuous actions and outlook. When we engage in something wholesome, virtuous, the result is likewise. When we engage in something unwholesome and negative, the result is likewise. Be it in the realm of sphere of samsara, or for that matter, in the field of self-liberation or nirvana. And simply, if there isn't that kind of interdependency, then obviously the way we would experience things would be in a more permanent and a more fixed way. That it is not so, as far as our experience is concerned, is simply because the constant changes of manifestations that we go through based on individual outlook, based on individual activities, we have our personal experience of our personal sense of environment and surroundings for that matter. So, in terms of virtuous and non-virtuous activities and outlook, the fundamental nature of things, the way they manifest, is virtuous. And if the fundamental nature of things is fixed, virtuous, and non-virtuous, then what is good or virtuous will always remain virtuous. What is bad and non-virtuous, unwholesome will always remain non-virtuous and unwholesome. And so that is not true. So that is the basis of what I'm talking about. That the fundamental nature of world or things as they manifest is good, is free of harm in that sense, is good. But when we indulge in fabrications, we have a tendency to make what is good, what is wholesome, unwholesome. Therefore, the result of our outlook, negative outlook, firing back on us in unwholesome experiences. What I want you to know is that what I'm sharing with you is based on my personal feelings, based on my personal experiences. So in that way, that I'm not particularly focusing on the correctness of terminologies, terms, and, or for that matter, the fine point of the meaning. And so it is possible that both in just from nitpicking point of view, both in meaning as well as especially in words, it may appear wrong. Because if we are in another context, talking in another context, from the point of view of dialectical debate, like Dharma debate, then you have to think about each word, the meaning and the term, and the relationship between the term and the meaning. And so, before you say one word, utter one word, you might have to first take a deep breath and then say the word, and make sure the word and meaning are not in conflict with each other, because the other person is there to get on your case, so to speak. And so, in that way, like in Tibet, you know, many of the learned scholars, the geshes, are very good, very articulate in pointing out the subtlest mistakes, the nuances, the terms, to the point that what we use, you know, what we might call colloquial terminologies, that's the language we normally talking to each other. Even those can be used to point the faults within those. You know, we should be talking in a way that we normally talk, because it is rooted in some fault, some limitation, and so forth. It's either the meaning is wrong or the term is wrong. So in this way, even to the point that in Tibet, like some of the scholars in the geshe were so articulate, it was a cause of nuisance for others who are not likewise, who are not so. So in Tibet, you know, since there are no, you know, like guest houses or whatever like that, people used to go and ask if you could stay at somebody's home and be there, you know, that if they could be your host and put you up for whatever days and nights. And so it got to the point where the, you know, these geshes coming and they, you know, take it over the conversation and so articulate and so, you know, pinpointed in their turn. So when somebody comes and stop by and say, you know, could you, you know, offer me shelter? The question would be first, are you a geshe? And then, so the story is that one geshe, and when he was going around and needed a place to stay, and he knew this quite a bit, so when he was asked by the host, said, are you a geshe? He said, absolutely no, I don't even know the head or tail of debating. No, and just for me, it's like totally unknown. And so then the family, they gave shelter. And the owner of the place, the house, the hostess, and she happened to go out, and there she, wherever she was walking, she saw an insect. And she happened to pick it up and tell her daughter, and saying the words, telling her daughter, put this somewhere, take this somewhere where we wouldn't die. And so the geshe was tickled by it, having the habit of debating and all of that, the use of the words. So the geshe was tickled by it, and he couldn't help but tell his hostess, if you can take somebody where, it wouldn't die, find me such a place too. And sort of like playing with the words in that sense, but in a way, nitpicking. So here, that's not our concern. We are not, in a debate situation to prove how technically correct we are, or how theologically correct we are. But from my point of view, I'm here to share that I have this feeling that actually we are together, and in some sense, we know each other. But at least we are here to know each other more. And in that, within the context of that feeling, I share things based on feelings as opposed to how technically, how literally, and terminologically the correct and precise things should be. So, personally also, I take this as a very good opportunity for myself. Normally under the circumstances that I am, I don't have much, I don't have so many to talk to. So that I look up at the sky and open my mouth and talk up towards the sky, or look down to the ground and talk to the ground, this and that and so on. And, or, so in this way, talking to myself, basically. Constantly talking to myself. And here, that neither do I have to look up and open my mouth and talk up to the sky or down to the earth. Here, you are all here gathered. So I have a chance to talk to all of you. Thank you very much. The time is also just beginning to say thank you. So maybe we need to break here.
We will now recite the dedication of merit. By this merit, may all attain omniscience, may it defeat the enemy wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the oceans of samsara, may I free all beings. And now we will sing the song on the back of the sheet, All World. Please rise.
성인기 가래 성이 본다 프랑스 폐 유산에 가래 네 문주지와 그래서 대세지와 기술은 이제 막 그래서 인지기 농사지와 그래서 장주
Tomorrow when you come for the teaching evening, you bring the Manjo text, the yellow book, and I think someone's going to give the long transmission, as it said in English.
Please rise.
Mame kutu dambara chenje, nemu sumara chewara chi.